March 2, 2002, Shah-e-Khat Valley, eastern Afghanistan. Lieutenant General Frank Hagenbeck, commander of all coalition forces in Afghanistan, is watching his operation fall apart. Operation Anaconda, the largest American ground battle since the Gulf War, has been running for less than 12 hours. Al-Qaeda and Taliban fighters, dug into caves and ridgelines at 10,000 feet, are hitting American forces from positions nobody knew existed. Helicopters are taking fire the moment they touch down. Predator surveillance drones are useless in the mountain fog. Communication between units is breaking down. American soldiers on the valley floor are pinned, taking casualties, with no clear picture of where the enemy is or how many of them are up there. Hagenbeck knows exactly who he needs. He needs the Australians. On a neighboring ridge, a small team of Australian SAS operators has been watching the entire battle unfold, silent, still, reading the ground the way they had been trained to read ground for years before this moment. They can see positions the drones cannot reach. They can hear movement the Americans cannot locate. And they have a radio. What happened next is documented in Hagenbeck's own words. He said later, "You had to have someone there on the ground that could see and hear and smell, and pick up the sense of the battlefield, of what was going on, and we were very much dependent upon the Aussies, certainly in that part of the battlefield." Then he said something even more direct. He said, "I would not have wanted to do that operation without the Australian SAS folks on that ridge. I mean, they made it happen that day." The Australian SAS team guided an AC-130 gunship onto enemy positions, coordinated the coalition response, directed the helicopters that extracted the trapped Americans. 7 Americans died in Operation Anaconda. Without the Australian SAS on that ridge, Hagenbeck believed the number would have been far higher. The Americans who got out alive knew exactly who to thank. One Australian trooper who was there described coming to a meal line at the American base afterward, with 100 Americans waiting ahead of him. They stepped aside. Some of them applauded. He said he was taken a bit aback by it. This was not the first time America had come looking for Australian SAS, and it would not be the last. In Vietnam, from 1966 to 1971, the Australian SAS was based at Nui Dat in Phuoc Toi Province, officially acting as the eyes and ears of the 1st Australian Task Force. Unofficially, word about what they could do spread through the American command structure faster than any formal briefing. The Americans called their own Special Operations units the men with green faces. They were feared by the enemy, but it was the Australians the Viet Cong feared most. They called them Ma Rung, phantoms of the jungle, because at any given moment everything would be fine, and then suddenly you would see all your men killed in the blink of an eye, and the Australians would already be gone. The Americans noticed those results. They asked for Australian SAS instructors at the MACV Recondo School, the long-range reconnaissance patrol training program that taught American special operators how to move, how to observe, how to survive deep in enemy territory. Australian SAS soldiers stood in front of American special operators and taught them things that no training manual had written down yet, because those things had been learned in real jungle against a real enemy who was also trying to find them. The Americans were good students. They had to be, because what the Australians were teaching was the difference between coming home and not. The Australian SAS had the highest kill ratio of any unit in Vietnam. In 6 years, nearly 1,200 patrols, 492 confirmed kills, 1 soldier killed in direct combat. 1. Those numbers went around American command. They did not go unnoticed. In Afghanistan, in 2002, the Australian SAS colonel commanding 150 SASR operators, Rowan Tink, received the United States Bronze Star Medal from Hagenbeck personally at Bagram Air Base. The citation described his outstanding contribution to the international coalition against terrorism. It was America's way of saying something that Hagenbeck had already said plainly on camera, that without the Australians, the mission would not have succeeded. A country of 20 million people, 1 regiment, 3 Sabre squadrons, and a reputation that had American generals picking up the phone and asking for them by name before operations that nobody else wanted to run. One Australian trooper said the American response at that mess line in Afghanistan was almost embarrassing. Almost. Then he collected his food and went to prepare for the next mission.